The Ondo State House of Assembly has confirmed receiving a letter from Governor Akeredolu to embark on another medical leave. The Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Olamide Oladiji, who received the letter on behalf of the lawmakers, said the governor's action is in line with Section 190 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Oladiji, while addressing journalists at the Assembly complex on Wednesday, said the Deputy Governor, Lucky Ayedatiwa, would now assume the responsibilities of the governor in an acting capacity until there is a written declaration to the contrary.
I want to believe that this is the fifth letter of transmission from Executive Governor to His Excellency Lucky Ayedatiwa. I've received the letter. So my duty now, is to give instruction to the clerk of the house to put up a letter of approval, of which I'm going to approve, and then we forward it to the SSG.
Joining us now on the show is Kolawole Johnson, Head, Directorate of Research and Strategy, Acts of Positive Transformation Initiatives. Good morning, Mr. Johnson, and welcome to the morning show.
Good morning, and it's good to be here. Thank you.
Okay, we have just Kolawole Johnson. I thought Enuku Omeyin was also going to be here, but Kolawole Johnson, quickly, let's ask you. In the whole of this saga in Ondo State, President Tinubu has played a major role. He's been asked to intervene, and he has had to intervene twice. And we're told that it's his interventions that have led to this situation. President Tinubu is also being called upon to intervene in Rivers State to help solve the problem there. Now, does this make sense in a democracy whereby the president of Nigeria is being turned into the headmaster of the democratic process, whereas the political gladiators in all these states themselves are supposed to be guided by established laws? But, well, the president has intervened in Ondo State. But do you think that the war in Ondo State is over?
I think what has happened, what we've experienced thus far, it's not. It is not what we should have expected in Ondo State, especially with the leadership of Akeredolu, the kind of person that we have known him to be. What you can say he stands for over time. He's a man that will speak the truth to power, even when you don't even expect. I remember a few years ago, when he had a case at the Supreme Court, they were going to determine, his election, the election petition at the Supreme Court, and he was advised not to speak against the federal government on the famous herders clashes and the activities of the herders in the state. And I remember that he said, in fact, I didn't want to, he said to hell that he will speak the truth. They will take it away from him. Let them take it away. So that is the kind of person we know him to be. So it's unfortunate that all of this now is now at the center of unnecessary drama that shouldn't have happened in the first instance. And unfortunately, if we are upholding the principle of the rule of law, I don't think we'll have this. We'll have all of this at all, whether in Ondo State or in Rivers or for states who are themselves, who should not be subjected to who should not be tied to the apron string of the federal government, being themselves an autonomous unit, of the system. Will take themselves to the president to become, I don't know. It's quite unfortunate, but perhaps if that had not happened, there wouldn't have been an end to that drama, because the political interests are so strong that it would have been difficult to have this respite if the president had not intervened. But is the war over? Well, that would be subjective. You can have, you may not have an express and a very precise answer to that, because if you look back to what to the factors responsible for the drama you've seen in the last few months. So there's the fact that you have actors, political actors in the state who want to succeed Governor Akeredolu, and in their own political game and projection, they all felt that if Lucky Ayedatiwa, the deputy governor and now the acting governor, if he has the opportunity to act in that place and perhaps establish himself, he will likely have the edge over them. And unfortunately, political interest for them comes first in the game, so they prefer to subject the state to the trauma than doing the right thing, which is very unfortunate. Whether the internal forces inside the government or those who are outside the government who also are jostling to succeed the governor. So it was an unnecessary political game that, of course, did not take into consideration the people who will bear the brunt. And unfortunately, I doubt if the war will be over now, because election is just around the corner. We heard that the APC primaries will be coming up in April or thereabouts. So 4 months away. I doubt if you're going to see an end to the war. However, it may not be in the same dimension. Of course, it can't be now that you have the acting governor in place.
All right, well, Mr. Johnson, the acting governor seems to agree with you. In a statement post his assumption as acting governor, he did mention that the process of impeachment against him in the last 2 months was unnecessary and slowed down the process of governance in the state. However, let's center on elections coming up, like you mentioned, in a few months. Do you think that despite the fact that he's acting governor, you've said that the war still seems to be going on, do you think his position now would consolidate his being able to clinch the party's primary tickets for the governorship election?
That's a no-brainer. You should expect that, and that is the exact thing that the political actors, were fighting against. It will certainly give him the, of course, it will expand his base, especially if he's able to, summon the courage to establish for himself first the governance structure. If you leave the structure of governance the way it is, it's unlikely if you'll be able to do, if he will get along to also establish his own political structure, because I think he's been he's not known to have that large base political structure. He has not been in the scene for too long, to have earned that. But once you become the deputy governor, I think you have that leverage is there, that mileage is there, and the acting governor now, he has that. He will have, the power. He will have not just the resources, the patronage. Incidentally, their government. Over time, they've not been able to put in place boards, boards in different parastatals and agencies in the state. So if perhaps we'll be going ahead to do that, and of course, a lender, contest against the LCD, the caretaker committees that they put in place a few weeks ago. If he's going to disband that again to put his own, to put people who are loyal to him across the state, so that will automatically expand his political structure. And with the, with Contra, that'll be going out to his own. It is normal. Most of them, they largely patronize those who are, those who are close to them first. So, with those ones, I'll be going out. There are tendencies that he will have the mileage to, perhaps be a very strong force in the contest, barring any other, unforeseen, things that could perhaps just, make it an easy ride for him. But, I think politically, the state is not that violent. We should be expecting a very healthy contest, especially, a contest of ideas, not a contest of, the state is weak in governance as we speak now, and we can't suddenly continue like that. Let me give you well, maybe I can just leave some indices, but the fact is that if you look at the state, we should be doing much more better. Unfortunately, when you have the zonal, economic indicators and indices, Lagos will cover up for most of the states. Lagos, Ogun will cover up for most of the states. We are not doing well as a state. Where, what are we creating in industry? What are we creating? Ondo State has a coastline of over 100 kilometers, largely deep waters with about 15 meters draft. It's lying down there. The potential is large enough not just to service the state, but also the adjoining states. Ondo State has oil field offshore. If you have a strong port there, it won't just be a port, just a port. It will also be one for the oil and gas industry. And what do you need to get this done? I think a greenfield port with about 3 berths and with about $400 million, you can get this done. And if you have the proper or enhanced dues collection, both for both the port deals and the pilotage, deals on OGVs and the boat, and all of that. We'll be able to pay off the money in a very short time. So the state has the potential that we can tap into and turn into another economic hub. We complain of the gridlock in Lagos Port. Ondo is more central, whether to the south, whether to the rest of the southern states, the east, the west, and even the northern part of the country. We are like the gateway, to most of these places. Okay. So if we're able to provide that governance, the state will suddenly develop. So for me, I think I'm looking more at the governance part and not the political part.
I mean, it has a lot of prospects. Ondo's got bitumen. I mean, it can go on and on and on and on. And we know the historical existence of oil at Ondo dates way back to the early 1900s. But I'd like to ask, there have been talks as regards forgery of certificates, which is a criminal issue. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Akeredolu, was here, and they said they've got empirical facts that some, were forged. Documents were forged, beg your pardon. I say forgery of certificates, forgery of documents. That was a Freudian sleep there. That some documents were forged. Also, another commissioner came out to talk about that. That's a matter we cannot allow to slip away, despite the fact that things are sort of okay now. Forgery that went on when all of this transpired. You want to talk about that? Forgery of document, forgery of signature.
Rufai, I was meant to be in Lagos this morning with you in the studios, but I had to return to Abuja. It was based on this very matter you just mentioned. I was to be with you in the studios and perhaps show you quite a number of documents. We actually worked on that anyway. We did the work, and but all along, of course, it is not about noise. My experience in this is that if you want to do a thorough job, you don't start with the noise making. So you go on the ground, you do as much work as you can do to not just to dig out documents, not just to harvest document, but to also establish a framework that will ensure that the continuous access to that document. And again, you understand the fact that the privilege of access also comes with its own responsibility, information management. So that we did onto the very point, where we're able to establish the fact that there were forgeries. They forged the governors well.
How did you establish that?
It's no longer an allegation because...
No, how did you establish that?
Okay, at first, when we got some... Yes, let me come to that. Yes, let me come to that and specifics also. Around October, this started gradually, and but by November, of course, we had to establish contact with friends, who are also across the borders, to send the document to them for verification. Of course, the dissimilarities were so obvious at first. Unfortunately, they weren't even, so good at the beginning. It was so worse, but, later it got better, especially in November. So the ones that were so obvious in October, the end of September, we left them first. So we were interrogating the ones in November, and we sent them across. And of course, they returned forged. And again, we came to Nigeria and we made our contact again. We did underground work again. And they returned, of course, they confirmed them forged. And it was not a process of, spot the difference. No, it went through machine.
Who confirmed them forged?
Equipment used for such. And the charts, I have all of the charts, they are available.
Who confirmed them forged?
Aside the report that came out that is in a public space already. We have all of the charts establishing the differences, the dissimilarities, not just in strokes and handwritings. There were even some that we saw tracing on, and unfortunately, of course, they were. It's not a rocket science, so you establish that. So at some point,
I'm not sure you can hear me. Can you hear me?
I think on the very first day of November, we also approached. That was our third point of call. We approached some local investigators also, and. We were able to look through the document together, and they asked us to label them because we didn't want the description of those documents. It will mean that if they are going to use the title of the document, it will mean that we'll be giving out those contract awards and those approvals gotten on those forged signatures.
Can you hear me?
So we labeled them correctly, and by Monday a formal letter was submitted. Investigations, carried out.
I mean, why we try to sort out this audio? Because this is a very serious matter, and this is very serious allegation. The next line of questioning for me will be, who are the forensic experts that work on those documents that were able to ascertain that those documents were forged? Because this is a criminal issue, and you've got a very good legal background, Dr. Abati. We cannot say because, the government has finally transmitted power, then we should leave an issue of criminality just to slide like that. If documents were forged, there must be accountability on those documents. And he's making those very strong allegations this morning that he has even gone through the process and he can affirm that he worked on the documents and saw that the documents were forged. So probably we'd like to know the forensic experts that worked on the documents, and probably can this be tendered in court, that these documents were forged. I don't know if we'll be able to establish contact with him again, and Mr. Kolawole Johnson can hear us. But I mean, it's open to you, Dr. Abati. I mean,
well, forgery has to be established before the court, and has to be affirmed by the court. So the question is, would the new administration act in that regard? Take on the issue. What we're told is that the Association of Forensic Professionals of Nigeria are the ones who certify those documents as having been forged. On the prompting of Razak Obe, a commissioner, who said files that he sent in came back with different kinds of signatures. So the question that maybe Kolawole Johnson wants to take along is that he is introduced as a Director of Research and Strategy of Acts of Positive Transformation of Nigeria. Is Acts of Positive Transformation part of the Association of Forensic Professionals of Nigeria, or is his own body, the Acts of Positive Transformation of Nigeria, part of those bodies contacted by Razak Obe? What is the relationship with Razak Obe? Because he was saying, we are involved, we did this, we did that, but his own body was not mentioned in the reports in the public domain. Maybe you put those questions to him.
That's a valid question. So at first, who are those that authenticated the document as forged? Who are your forensic experts? Were they members of, Association of Nigeria Forensic Experts? And did you work with Razak Obe in this? Because you said some external people, you took it out. Who are those external bodies out there that authenticated the forgery? And like Dr. Abati asked rightly, did you work with Razak Obe and Association of Nigerian Forensic Experts? Those two questions, sir.
Okay. We didn't start the work with Razak Obe. The work started long ago in October, but it got serious in November. When some revelations came out. But Razak also contacted us. In this discourse, of course, you have friends you talk to that you express, your fears. You express the things that you've discovered going on in the state. So of course, he must have he heard, and he's been agitated for some time. And I want to salute his courage. And one thing he said to us, when we were talking on this, was that if Akeredolu had been in his own shoe, what would he have done? That he would do exactly what the man will do, that is ready to stake himself, because again, you have public documents in your possession that you've gotten through whichever way. It is at times you need people from the inside to own up. So he's been pushing for to get those things certified. He's been pushing for verification before he spoke with us, and of course, we took it on also. So his documents were part of the ones that we sent for forensic analysis. So we were the one that wrote the Association of Forensic Professionals. So we wrote them with those documents, we labeled them. Yes. So we labeled the document and we wrote to them for verification, and we paid into the account of the association. So we only went to get the report. And let me also say this, that was not the first point of call. We have sent this thing to India. It's returned first. So the idea of labeling those documents,
which body
separately
in India certified those documents forged? Which association, which company in India
hold on. Okay, hold on. Rufai, there are some things that we can put in the public space now. There are some that we won't like to put in the public space. The document, I would like to stay with the document that is out already. When that was done, we needed to also to verify. So we first established the fact that, okay, this is forged. So we now approached, in fact, we were armed with that, so that if we have any alteration back home or any manipulation, of course, we can revert to our first point of call and see what to do with that. So we approached them, and the document returned forged. So the first one we did, there was no point using that again, because we didn't describe to them that we're going to, in part of our letter to them, it was not meant for for the media at first. So of course, later we wrote back to get their own approval for that. So the association back here, they were able to also certify, and we went there with a couple of documents, and they returned them that, okay, these documents, of course, were forged. And unfortunately, at that point, we sent a report back to the commissioner, who notified the deputy governor, and the entire drama started.
Well, Kolawole, let me ask you first, before I ask my next question. Are you from Ondo State?
Oh, yes, I am from Ondo State.
Okay, so you are a stakeholder.
A bona fide one, indeed.
You are a stakeholder in the matter. Well, okay, are you from the creeks or from mainland? Or anyway, that's irrelevant. You are from Ondo State. I just want to establish that you are a stakeholder.
No, I'm from Ondo State.
Okay.
Thank you, Doctor.
You have as much right as anyone else in this matter. Now, let me ask you, what would be your advice to Akeredolu now that he has assumed office as acting governor, and he has also had a public statewide broadcast telling people he will sustain the legacy of Governor Akeredolu and calling for people coming together for development purposes. Now, the first meeting that he had with the president, along with Oladiji and others, we were told that the conditions were that he must maintain the status quo, which will include not tampering with the party structure, not tampering with the executive, not changing the commissioners and other appointees. Now that he's acting governor, against the background of the treasury of appointees of Governor Akeredolu, will you advise him, is he still bound by those agreements to just keep persons who had consistently worked against him, even on those occasions when he purportedly acted for Governor Akeredolu, even though we were told that the governor, because the Commissioner for Information was here, that the governor allowed him to act that the governor had no problem with that. But he was not allowed to sign checks. Only the checks can be signed by Governor Akeredolu. And now you are telling us that most of those signatures, were forged. So can he now sign checks? Is it good enough now as acting governor to sign checks? Is it good enough to at least put a team together that can work for him? What will you advise him to do?
I think the man will be very careful, for two reasons. First, is assuming this position, this acting capacity, on a very remorseful note, regardless of the battle and all of the drama, the fact that the man who picked him as a deputy is unfortunately not around. And I've said this before somewhere that for me, I was sick some time ago, a few years back, and I was almost dead. I reduced from 97 kg to 61 kg. It was unfortunate, but God brought me back. I'm alive. So as long as a man is breathing, of course, I know that the governor's condition is very critical. The fact that, of course, he's expecting him back, he will want to be very, very careful with the steps he takes. However, I disagree that he will carry on with development. We've not had any serious development in the state, especially this year. It's been almost nothing. So I'll be expecting him to cause a disruption if he's going to make any meaning, if he's going to make any impact at all in this short time, whether a month or 2 months or even few weeks. He needs to make that disruption so that he can establish himself as one who can drive development in the state, and not just an extra tire that is just there on the seat, to just take instruction. And what happened the very first time that he acted, I think the scenario is different. He didn't get that through squabbles and hue and cries. He got that on a platter of gold. The governor was traveling and he needed to go, even though he was absent from the state for a while, and he left. So they handed over to him. But there are some strong men in government who of course pride themselves as the governor's men, who are also saying, oh, the governor said this, the governor said, so you can't do this, you can't do that. But now that he knows clearly that he got that he got there on the strength of the people who went out to not just to advocate for him, he would need to also prove them right that they didn't do all of that in vain to ensure that he performs. And unfortunately, he may be doing what would be considered as a normal thing. Then on the very first meeting they had with the president, and those agreements and understandings were put in place. Remember that if they had sworn in him then as the acting, of course, there will be no basis for him to flout that. But this very last one, there was no condition, of course. So we heard. We were the very first again to release to the public in the early hours of a Tuesday of thereabout years. When we explained that, of course, in that meeting, they were going to, they agreed to a plea of some certain leaders who said they should not acted on doctrine of necessity, but should allow a letter to be transmitted, from the governor to him. And we questioned that because we said, we know the governor has not been signing anything, and the president is quite aware of his state of lucidity and the fact that he may not be able to sign any letter. Are they still going to bring a forged document to the House of Assembly to bring in the deputy governor? And we said, come, this is very dangerous to our cause, to what we're doing at the moment, because if you accept a forged a forged signature, that forms the premise of bringing a deputy governor to office, and you accept it, it will be difficult to reject the same forged signature on other documents in our possession that we are already, working with the security agencies to ensure that those who did that, face the full wrath of the law. And so we came out to say that that won't be fair to us, because we've come out to do this not on anything but for the fact that we think they can play politics, but at the level of criminality, we shouldn't mix it with politics. We should separate criminality from politics. So if you want to, if you want to play the game, play the game without, delving into the arena of what we have, witnessed. So for me, I think from what we heard in the villa, I don't think they gave him any condition, but it will also be in his own interest not to, even though you want to cause some disruptions, not to, again, act, I don't want to use the word insensitively, to be sensitive of the fact that the governor is still on the bed, recuperating, and will most likely come back very soon.
All right, thank you very much. Now, Mr. Johnson, just to ask, the first time Mr. Akeredolu made the allegation that some members or some people were forging the governor's signature. Also, Mr. Razak Obe, Commissioner for Energy and Mineral Resources, corroborated his claims. The governor hadn't yet gone on medical leave, so he could have come out to, to identify whether indeed his signature had been forged. Is there any reason why he didn't come out to either ask for an investigation into that, corroborate the story, because from what we heard from the Commissioner for Information, who was with us last week, he was able to respond to matters. It was just his body that wasn't very well. But he was governor at the time, so he could have come out to say, investigate, analyze the signatures, determine or confirm whether they were his signature or not. Why was there any reason why this didn't happen, rather than employing the services of forensic agents, when the governor himself could have easily just looked at it and admitted whether it was his signature or not?
Can we move on? Maybe talk about something else.
Well, I do understand that this is a very sensitive matter, and of course, like you mentioned, a number of people like you hold the governor in very high esteem, and we pray for his speedy recovery. It was just to ask because the commissioner had mentioned that he was still in active service at the time.
My dear sister, leave them to lie. Leave them to lie. The governor's condition is critical. He wasn't anywhere walking. He wasn't anywhere signing any document. We pray for his speedy recovery.
But in any case,
claim politics with the man's health.
No, but in any case, just to add a footnote to that, in some other jurisdictions, in some other places, there's something called e-signature, which also featured prominently in this subject, because we were told the second meeting the president had, that the son of the governor was asked to go and make available the father's e-signature. Will e-signature qualify as a forgery, or it's valid?
Well, I think if they had done that in the first instance, there wouldn't have been, the need for all of this drama that we are putting the state through, and especially, knowing well that the man is at the center of all of this. There's no way we'll talk about this, whether the forgery or other allegations that his name will not, be at the center of this. If they had taken the option of the e-signature, perhaps we would not be here. And that is a fact. It's so unfortunate that this is happening. Not even at this time that people are going through a whole lot in Nigeria. The economic indices are not just favorable at all. So it's so unfortunate. They can tell all of the lies. They can just give the facade. But the fact is this: the president, he has, the security reports. He knows the state of the governor. He knows the state of lucidity. He understands states. Why do you think they were asking for e-signature? If the man, had been able to sign all along, why do you think they opted for that? Okay. Why do you think they opted for that? See, we also advocated that they shouldn't go through the doctrine of necessity for the sake of Aketi, not for the sake of these handlers who are busy profiting from the man's ill health.
Mr. Kolawole Johnson, sorry about how you feel. We all wish Aketi, very speedy recovery. I'd like to ask you this. Based on your empirical work you have done, at what point did you start to notice that those signatures were forged in the pattern? At what point did Akeredolu lose the ability to sign his own signature?
Okay. I don't know, let me not say at what point that he lost the ability to sign, but we noticed forged signatures since September, unfortunately. Since September, of course, we had to start working backward. And we noticed that, since September, I don't want to quote some very specific documents because these people also, they want to walk to the answers. So the moment they know, the exact documents, of course, they can attempt to mop some, out of the public space, but of course, they can't mop the logbook, we went to that extent, but I think this is dated back to September, very, very, very unfortunate.
So
we have them with us, and they have failed the test
since
over and again. And unfortunately, Rufai, it is not even by one person. If they had employed just one person who was doing it all through, maybe the dissimilarity would not be that much, but more than one person.
So since September, but we had the Commissioner of Information of the State that was here that said they still sent documents about 2 weeks ago. She still spoke to him about 2 weeks ago. They still sent documents. She needed to get some money for something in the ministry. And it came back signed. And she said it was from him. In fact, I further challenged her. And it was a trick question I asked her. I further challenged her that, can you go ahead to sue Akeredolu on this allegation of forgery? And she said, yes, they will tell the Attorney General to do it. That's the level of certainty she exuded on that matter.
Rufai, I'm here. I'd like to be sued by the woman. On a national television, on a sister station, I put it to her that the document she claimed that she got from the governor, that she should please surrender it to us for forensic examination, anywhere, whether the British Council or anywhere of our choice. And I said to her that they will return flat, forged. If she wriggled her way out of it, let them bring the documents. Let them bring the document. By now, you understand the fact that I don't just come out high. Of course, we've done quite a number of work on this before we came out. We didn't even want to come out in the first instance. At first, I was very angry that those documents were leaked. They were meant to be sent to the deputy governor, by our friend, okay. Razak, obey your mind. Okay. By the way, sorry.
Okay,
so that was the intention before the thing was leaked to the public space. Yeah, but you can please put it to them, put it to the woman, that she should bring that document she claimed to have gotten from the governor that 2 weeks ago to you. Hand it over to us, or I will together pay for the forensic analysis. They will return flat, forged.
Kolawole, we're trying to wrap up. The woman you are talking about is the Commissioner for Information.
Thank you, sir.
Her name is Bamidele Ademola Olateju, Commissioner for Information, Ondo State.
I know.
Yeah, because you kept saying the woman. The public would like to know who this woman is. But talking about suing, who should sue who?
Oh, yeah.
You are with an NGO. Can you also perhaps sue the government to give more information, to explain why some ghosts will be signing checks, signing away money belonging to the people of Ondo State without the constituted authority being the rightful person signing those checks? Will you consider legal action? Because that's what SERAP will have done in this case. And you can easily establish your locus standi in this matter.
Okay. All right. Doctor,
Briefly.
we're already working with a number of agencies. We have submitted a petition to the EFCC, the DSS, the NSA's office, and now the ICPC. So, they all have it, and we are working with them already on this. So it is when that fails that we can take, this next step. But I think that will not fail. With the level of support they have given thus far, we should start seeing some things happening regarding this in the state very soon.
Well, thank you very much, Kolawole Johnson, for joining us on the morning show today.